with us on Overdrive. The Ultraviolet F77 Super Street motorcycle is just the same as the Mark II, but with a taller and wider handlebar, which now has made a difference to the ergonomics of the rider triangle and of course has made it more street focused. Here's Sumit Soman telling you more.
Take care of the earth. That's what my t-shirt says. And that's what everybody says. And the best way to do that is to drive and ride vehicles that pollute less, emit less pollutants into the air. But does that have to do while sacrificing the style and excitement and adventure of riding a bike or a car for that matter? Ultraviolet begs to differ, and they have launched the Super Street at a starting price of 2.99 lakhs ex-showroom and 3.99 lakh for the top variant. But what has changed? Because in flesh, it looks exactly as the F77 Mark II, but a closer eye to the details will reveal that this is a different bike. Gone away are the clip-ons from the Mark II. This is a wide handlebar. Take a look at the front. You have 17-inch wheels, MRF tires, alloy wheels, disc brake, 320mm disc brakes up front and 230 at the rear. If I talk about suspension, up front you get a USD unit which has 110mm of travel, and at the rear you have a monoshock with 60mm of travel. Now, as I come to the side, this again is an accessory, it's not stock. These are tank grips, you can buy them after you have bought the bike. When it comes to the seating, you have a split seat setup. Now the cushioning is on the firmer side of things, but you have concealed grab rails right over here. These are not protruding, these are not visible to naked eye, but then again, there's a cavity right over here where you can hold, the pillion can hold. Now I am around 5 feet 9 inches tall, 10 inches tall, and this is how I look when I sit on the bike. As you can see, there is a proximity alert as well. If I touch it, a notification goes to the rider, the owner of the bike. Apart from that, there's an alarm system which makes it a point that people around you will know that you have touched the bike and it's not yours. But apart from that, the quality of the switch gear is also nice. You get an adjustable brake lever right over here for the brakes. Of course, there's no clutch because it's an electric bike. You have a kill switch right over here, and you have handlebar raisers as well. But apart from that, there is a side stand indicator as well, and the bike will not propel further if that is engaged, and it also tells you that the side stand has been deployed. The addition of the clamps and the handlebar raisers has bumped the weight a little bit, but it's negligible, not worth mentioning. But when it comes to the TFT display, this has also been changed. This one is a little more oriented towards the rider, which means the glare of the sun does not affect much. Actually, you can change the brightness as well. You can just toggle from the menu. You can just go back and go to the settings. You can manually change brightness of the display, which is actually quite nice. I do not have any problem reading the whereabouts and the information relayed on the TFT. It has around 3 traction modes: rain, road and sport. But not just that, it has 9 levels of region which can be toggled on the go, which is quite nice. But apart from that, the TFT has 2 themes: radar and parallax. You can toggle between the two, which one of your liking. I like parallax better than the radar. As I go back to the menu, it's a very slick unit. It does not stutter. I had no problem in browsing the menu from the TFT screen. It also has navigation and Bluetooth tethering as well. Apart from that, you can also tether it to your phone via the app, which will give you more control of and more data of how you've been riding and where all it has been gone. And it also has a theft and tow alert, to name a few. Now, since I've covered all of that, it's time to get to riding this one. Let's go. To start with, this one houses a 10.3 kilowatt-hour battery. The low variant gets a 7.1 kilowatt-hour battery. But this one powers a motor that produces 40.2 PS of power and 100 Newton meters of peak torque. The company claims a 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds and a top speed of 155 km per hour. Now, the track that I tested this on, it's a very technical track. I could only go up to 110 kilometers per hour, but I am sure that this one is capable of it, first. Secondly, I think this one is very easy to ride. In spite of being 207 kilos, it's very nimble to handle. You can chuck it around the corner. Navigating through traffic is too easy, and you have 3 modes to work with. So you have glide, you have combat, you have ballistic. I've stayed on ballistic for the most part because it is the most exciting mode to ride in. The inputs are adhered to like this. It's snappy, quick, and of course, with ballistic, the range is decreased. You have a sacrifice of range. if range is your priority, you have to get from point A to point B, I'd advise you to stick to glide. That is where the inputs are a little more delayed, the performance is a little underwhelming, actually a little more contained. In between both of these, there is the combat mode. That is where you get the best of both worlds. But for someone who is looking at just the riding experience, I would advise you to stay in the ballistic mode. The braking is actually good. You have dual channel ABS as well, but the front brakes are actually good. They are progressive. It has a sharp bite as well. The rear brakes could use some bite. I felt that, that could use some work. I'm nitpicking over here. Overall, the suspension is on the stiffer side of things, but the front suspension is a little more forgiving than the rear one. But where it gets a little more tricky is that with the rear suspension being stiff, the cushioning of the seats are also stiff. So that is where it gets a little bone jarring when you throw it off potholes or broken tarmac, when you ride it off uneven tarmac. That is where it gets to you, because your back will take all the bumps, and it kind of makes it a point that you feel all of that. So there was nowhere in time where I was in need of power or for instant torque. I think it's a beautiful machine to ride. It's quite exciting, it's quite engaging as well. What changed is the ergonomics. So when you sit, you're sitting in a much more relaxed position. The handlebars, you do not have to reach for them. They fall perfectly onto the hands, and you now have an 80-degree rake instead of a 55-degree, which was much more committed when in comparison to the Mark II F77. Be it your highway jaunts, or be it your interstate, or for that matter, when you are riding from your office to work and work to office, this gives you all the eyeballs and all the power you need. So what's the takeaway here? At an asking price of 2.99 lakhs ex-showroom for the base variant and 3.99 lakh for the top variant, this one, the Super Street, gives you all the excitement, the thrill, the adrenaline that the F77 Mark II had, but with a wider handlebar and a neutral riding stance. Now in my books, that's a nice deal.
Well, with that, it's a wrap on this week's edition of Overdrive. But remember, you can stay in touch with the team through our various social media platforms, and you can write to us on YouTube as well. We'll see you next week. Until then, goodbye. Many thanks for watching.